I cannot suppress a shiver as I walk into the threshold. Where is everyone? My question echoes unnervingly down the silent hallways. All the corridors are deserted, and so is every one of the galleries and chambers we come across. The palace is as still as gigantic The Paris is as still... Okay, no, I get it. Oh, the palace is as still as a gigantic sprawling grave. My neck feels prickly from anticipation. Something tells me Eskia's time of troubles is definitely not over yet. On guard, everyone. Blades slither out of their sheaths. My little band of soldiers draws closer around me. Give alarm if you notice any movement. There! A guard yells, pointing in front of him. What? How am I supposed to know this? Excuse me? A tall shadow rushes by. I look in just in time to see a tall shadow dart into one of the abandoned rooms. Hey, wait! Lady Rosencruz! The shadow cautiously re-emerges out of the room. To my astonishment, I realize it's Ceridwen. Finally, it's about time the cavalry came to the rescue at last. What happened here, Lady Ceridwen? If I had to guess, it's your old friend. Almost all the guards in the palace are his mind-controlled puppets. The deviant, but I thought we killed him. Raphael is definitely dead. Obviously, he's not dead enough. Just before daybreak, the guards went berserk and started dragging people left and right into the dungeons. Anyone who tried to resist, they slaughtered. How did you get away? My household retainers warned me and held off the ones who came after me long enough for me to escape. Since then, I've been hiding in a disused storage room, while patrols of mind-control guards swept the palace to kill anyone they found. I've had a couple of close calls. Her mouth hardens into a line. But even without my retainers, I'm not completely defenseless. She pulls a hairpin from her locks, and even in the dim torchlight, I can tell it's coated by dark flecks. Do you know what happened to the princes and Lord Regent? What about Garyon? I saw them ran through a cordon of possessed guards from my hiding place. But I was unarmored and didn't fancy a run across open space to link up with them. You came from outside, didn't you? Yes. I guess they didn't make it out of the palace grounds. Wherever they are, I wish them the best. Lady Ceridwen, the main gate is open at the moment. We didn't see anyone when we came in. If you're quick and quiet, you can flee that way. You're sure of it? Yes. With a curt motion of my head, I order a guard to accompany her. Although she says nothing, Lady Ceridwen gives me a nod of gratitude. Good luck and be safe. You too, Lady Rosencruz. Without another word, she strides away towards the gate. The guard speeds after her. I'm glad I was able to help Lady Ceridwen. Now I must help everyone else who is still alive. Grimly, I motion the party on. I like this less and less. Harris mutters behind me as we pass through one empty corridor after another. What I dearly want to know is how the mastermind always strikes exactly when the palace is vulnerable. We may find the answer to that all too soon. Almost before I finish speaking, the pounding of heavy boots comes from the hallway ahead of us. On guard! The soldiers around me run forward to form a barrier with their shields. I hold out my arm, and in my grip crystallizes a saber of shimmering ice. In palpable tension, we wait for the unseen enemy to reveal themselves. Lady Rosencruz, Commandant Diveris. I squint into the darkness, trying to make out the face of the person called out to me. With the lack of light, it takes me longer than I would have liked. You? It's Hagen! He runs at the head of a small company of palace guards, as bruised and battered as he. The soldiers on my side make way to let him through. What happened to everyone, Hagen? Thank goodness you're here. The guards in the palace have all been mind-controlled by the deviant. You have to come with us. Where to? The Lord Regent and the princes have barricaded themselves inside the throne room. A horde of mind-controlled soldiers is outside, trying to batter down its door even as we speak. Hurry, they can't hold out much longer. Hagen half turns, gesturing urgently at me to follow. Just a moment, Hagen. We haven't a second to lose. How do I know you're not under the deviant's domination yourself? Don't be ridiculous. Come on, we're wasting precious time. How did you know where to find us? I didn't. I came here purely by coincidence. In that case, how did you know it was me? You couldn't possibly have seen me when you shouted my name, not through this gloom. Of course I didn't see you. I heard your voice. And how did you know Neri, Commander Diveris, is with me? I heard his voice too. Impossible, Hagen. Neri hasn't spoken up ever since we entered the palace. He was right beside you. I can feel someone tense beside me, and my heart sinks. Raphael is not the only traitor in our midst. And how did you know that? This is getting ridiculous. Without any change of expression, Hagen draws his sword and tries to run me through. 3 of my soldiers immediately dart forward. One of them knocks him down with his shield, and the other 2 pin him firmly to the ground. Hagen's men unsheath their weapons, and so, a split second later, do mine. Prepare to receive the enemy, I shout, but my attention is not directed at the foe in front of me. Instead, I strain at every nerve, trying to sense movement behind my back. Lady Rosencrews, behind you! One of the guards on my side shouts. Thankfully, the warning does not take me by surprise. An attack from behind is what I have been expecting all along. I spin around, holding my saber to parry. Harris's twin blades crash into my saber, the shock of the impact jarring my arm. Damn. Harris! You. How did you know, Lady Rosencrews? Why are you doing this? Harris shoves me and I stumble backwards, nearly falling. Soldiers on my side surge towards Harris, but he dances nimbly out of their reach. You were expecting an attack from me, not from you. But I knew the traitor has to be someone behind me. No one else could have relayed the identities and positions of us so precisely. Clever, as expected of you. We have you cornered now, Harris. You have me cornered. Oh, Lady Rosencrews, I have far too much respect for you to come here without backup. Show yourselves. From every chamber along the corridor, column after column of soldiers troop out to surround us, weapons drawn and ready. With each second, more soldiers appear out of staircases, galleries, and windows. I stare at them, noting the dark abyss reflected in their eyes. These soldiers are mind-controlled, all in perfect synchronization, puppets obeying the directive of their master. It wasn't Raphael. The air is filled with the sharp snaps of bolts clicking into place in crossbows. One false move and I shall turn you and everyone with you into human pincushions, Lady Rosencrews. Harris has sprung his trap. I slide my hand into my pocket where I have hidden my single paralyzer dart. If I am lucky, I could hit Harris with this and render his magical powers useless for some time. However, I glance around me and at the mind-controlled soldiers and Harris, who is wholly on his guard. My time is not yet. There is no escape for now. What do you want from us? I want you to come to the throne room. Why? Because if you do not do what I order, Lady Rosencrews, I shall have you slaughtered. And after you, your soldiers will follow. As much as I hate to admit, his reasoning appears ironclad to me. Very well, we'll go with you. 2 of Harris's minions walk up to me, each making to grab hold of one of my arms. I stop them. I can walk by myself. I don't want you to. Without needing to look, I can tell everyone else is similarly being taken prisoner, except for Hagen and his men, who are watching the proceedings without any change in expression, eyes emotionless and dead. Harris catches me looking at them and smiles. Yes, they are under my control. You can expect no help from that quarter, or any quarter for that matter. Now come, Lady Rosencrews, our comedy nears its end. Harris beckons with his little finger, and his minions by my side shoves me forward roughly. Bound and dozen of crossbows leveled towards us, we are force-marched down the corridor. Even while feeling helpless, I notice with no small amount of relief, Neri and his 2 garrison guards seem to have slipped out sometime unnoticed. Sunken in gloom and unnaturally silent, the throne room exudes an aura of horrible grandeur. The cavernous antechamber before the throne room is in a mess. It looks like Hagen, or rather Harris through him, was not lying completely. Here must have been a desperate battle. The nobles and servants who did not manage to escape from the palace put up a last stand and were overwhelmed. The throne room, on the other hand, has been meticulously cleaned. Its state could be described spick and span, if not for the ominous row of bound and trussed prisoners lining the wall, and the even more ominous pile of motionless bodies heaped in the corner. To my relief, I spot neither the Lord Regent nor the Marshal amongst the prisoners or the slain. However, Valkii! My heart leaps in joy at Seren's familiar voice. It sinks immediately when I realize that the princes have been caught. Your Highness! I break free from the guards holding me and hurry my step forwards. The men make no motion to follow. Prince Aurelius is standing on the dais, a few steps below the throne, expression blank and not one spark of life in his eyes. Seren walks up to meet me in my stride. When he stands in front of me, he reaches out to take my hands in his. Are you hurt? No, I am all right. How about you? The prince looks me up and down as I do the same. Aside from the worried frown on his face, he seems fine and has not suffered any injuries. I sigh in relief. I am fine, Your Highness. I give him a reassuring smile and he returns it. How touching. I'm so glad you can join my little evening party, Lady Rosencruz. Why are you doing this? All in good time. The last of our guests have arrived. He takes a spry leap up the steps to the empty throne and sits cross-legged to face us. What are you doing, Harris? That is my chair. My heart sinks when I see the king standing not far from where I am, glaring at Harris. The king always radiated a sense of omniscient invincibility. The sight of him helpless and manhandled by two brutish-looking guards comes with a shock. Far from showing any guilt, Harris widens his smile. And is this your hat too, your majesty? With one hand, Harris holds up the royal crown, which had laid unworn on its dais behind the throne ever since the king's death. He puts it at a rakish angle on his head. The king was dead. Long live the king. He laughs triumphantly as he looks down upon his former lord and master. Both the guards around the king have their daggers drawn and pointed at his throat. Don't try any of your tricks here. Wouldn't dream of it. With just one fleeting thought, I can end your life and the lives of everyone in the room. I'm aware. Yet you don't seem frightened. Do you think this is my first time facing death, Harris? No. I know it is not. The two men stare at each other. How strange. By the guttering torchlight, I could almost believe I see tears in Harris's eyes. On his face whirled a tumult of emotions. Triumph, hate, bloodlust, excitement, and grief. Why are you doing this, Harris? Why is his kids not being like, what the fuck, Dad? You're alive? What the fuck? So this is done quite well, and I enjoy it, but then some things just don't make sense, like her leaving for a journey and not going to see the person whose route you're on. That's just weird to me. Children are meant to be seen, and not seen, Seren, not heard. We trusted you. Aurelius trusted you. Harris pauses, his eyes flickering to his master for the first time. Aurelius meets his gaze, but says nothing still. The man sighs, never looking away from Aurelius, even as he replies to Seren. If the first mistake in his life that distresses him, you may take comfort in the thought it is also his last. My blood runs cold. Does Harris really mean to kill us? Of course, I had known it is a possibility, and an increasingly likely one at that, but up until this moment I could not bring myself to believe it. Why all of this, Harris? What have we done for you to hate us so much? My grudge against your house is older than you, your highness, or your brothers. I knew it. You're one of them, a pig in that herd of swine who killed my family and tortured me. You will not recognize me, your majesty. I was but a little boy then. Ah, a piglet. My mistake. I should have killed you too. Like you killed my mother and my father and my younger sisters, your majesty. Twins who would not see their fourth summer. Yes, exactly like how I killed them. I thought I exterminated your entire family, Harris. How did you get away? Harris clenches his fists until his knuckles turn white. He forces himself to breathe out slowly. If I were the king, I would not be taunting my mortal enemy in his hour of victory. But perhaps it is for the best I am not the king. I hid under a haystack in the barn. But I burned the barn to cinders. There was a water trough next to the haystack I was hiding under. For the horses. Ah, it's coming back to me. Water from the trough put out the worst of the flames when the barn collapsed. You chose a good spot to hide in, Harris. I did not choose it. My mother hid me there before running out to face you. Your mother? I remember her, a brave woman. Even though she was neither mage nor warrior, she somehow fought on long enough to buy you time to live. Wait, didn't the king swear before me that he had no recollection of what happened that night? Because of her, you never found me, though you found my little sisters. If I had found you, as I had found your little sisters, there would not be such a mess tonight. I wish I had found you. I bet you did. The last of Harris's composure breaks. With eyes filled with hatred, he screams at the person reminiscing remorsefully about butchering his entire family. No regrets at all, your majesty, for killing infants and children. Not a word of guilt or sorrow. I did not ask to be kidnapped and tortured by your clan, Harris. Neither did I ask them to kill my friends and my family. I was the first to suffer wrong at their hands. What about my little sisters? What about me? What did we do to you? When destroying a clan, it is not safe to let anyone live. This includes children. Children grow up and they take revenge once they are grown, as you are now demonstrating, not entirely to your discredit. Harris grinned wolfishly. Yes, King, I am grown, and I shall take my revenge on you. On me, certainly, but what about the rest of the people here? The king lets his eyes survey the breadth of the throne room, the people detained and the mind-controlled guards. His gaze lingers slightly longer on his children, but only slightly. Our grudge is, as you say, before their time. Kill me if you wish, but surely you will spare them. And why should I? When destroying a clan, it is not safe to let anyone live, man or woman, soldier or civilian, master or servant, father or son. You couldn't let go of your hatred when you killed my sisters, and neither will I tonight. It seems I taught you too well, Harris. Now it's my turn to teach you a lesson. Harris snaps his fingers. The guards in the throne room, who are standing like motionless statues, instantly spring to life. Each one marches in front of a prisoner and unsheaths his weapon. From the servant to the princes, anyone not under Harris's spell is menaced by naked steel. I stare cross-eyed at the sharp dagger tickling painfully against my jugular, not daring to breathe. Hagen, who grips the king, presses a wicked-looking hunting knife so closely to his neck it pierced the skin, and a dark trickle flows from the wound under the knife tip. But I am not as cruel as you, your majesty. I give you a choice. So very generous of you. The king replies dryly, earning himself a mirthless smile. I want you and Valkii to kill yourselves in front of me, here and now. Why me? The fuck did I do, bitch? The fuck did I do? In return, I will let the hostages in this room go free. Certainly I understand you wish to see me dead at your feet. But Valkii here? For what reason, Harris? You both understand perfectly well why. Oh, is it because I'm part of the clan? Is it because I'm a Rosencruz? Harris says flatly, his eyes are bright and cold when they hold mine. At that moment, I understand why Harris is doing this. The king's secret, the intoxicating subconscious dream of all Rosencruz. To wield all 6 elements of magic, untrammeled and unrestrained. Of course, Harris would know the king's origins, the true reason why he had risen so far and so fast. And he guesses the king has confided it to me as a representative of the High Council and a fellow Rosencruz. An abomination such as yourself, your majesty, is one too many for the good of the world. You cannot be allowed to exist, and there must never be another like you. I see. For the first time that night, the king's face becomes pale. You and all who know will have to die. Even the innocent? If life has taught me one thing, it is that there is no such thing as innocence, only degrees of guilt. Perhaps you're right. I frown. Regardless of right or wrong, I refuse to die in this place, and I refuse to let the princes and the hostages die. However, what can I do? Harris's guards will kill the moment anyone begins to frame a spell. Without being able to guarantee that my paralyzer dart will hit its target, I cannot go on the offensive. My only hope right now is Neri. Somehow he must have slipped away before Harris sprung his ambush on us. Perhaps he has a plan. Curse it, Neri, where are you? Now. Hold it. Harris laughs as I cut him off. Lady Rosencruz, are you dragging out the unavoidable? No, I'm trying to buy time. I have questions. Oh? You want me dead? Evidently. If so, why haven't you acted after the first assassination attempts? Pardon? The mined carriage road, the assassins that sneaked into the castle in the middle of the night. These incidents happened during my first months here in Eskia. You haven't tried anything else for almost a year now. Harris raises a brow. My schedule was too busy. I snort. You expect me to believe that? What else could it be? Harris, you didn't want to kill me anymore until a fortnight ago. The smile disappears from his face as he frowns. What do you mean to say? This. I make a gesture at the mind-controlled guards, then the hostages. I believe you're doing this right now because of Raphael's death. Harris narrows his eyes. Next to me, Saren tenses and squeezes my hand tighter as if in warning. Believe whatever you want. His Majesty told me the assassins were after his homunculus manual. If it wasn't for me deciphering it, perhaps the mind-controlling deviant would never have appeared again, and Raphael wouldn't have died. But... Valkii. Before I can finish, Saren tightens his grip and pulls me several steps aside. He presses my body close to his, and I turn my head. Where we were standing, 2 mind-controlled guards have thrusted their swords at. They concealed their presence with darkness magic, and I didn't notice in time. If it wasn't for Saren, I would have... I cannot suppress a shudder. Harris laughs hollowly. Good for you to have His Royal Highness by your side, Lady Rosencruz. He looks at me, face blank but eyes full of fury. One more word and I will have you know how it feels to not have your most important one next to you anymore. Biting my lower lip, I realize I cannot drag this on longer. Damn it, Neri, where in the hells are you? I turn to look at the king. The king's breathing becomes shallow and rapid. He sways slightly and looks faint, as though on the verge of passing out. Honestly, this looks like the end. The king is simply a man who is finally understanding his life has caught up with him at last. And I am merely one part of that life, but in the wrong place at the wrong time. What will your answer be, your majesty? The king presses a hand to his temple. His hair is lank with sweat, and a sicky pallor discolors his face. He draws a shuddering breath, but makes no reply. Don't be a coward. You are dead tonight, whatever you decide. Choose to die with honor, and give your followers back their lives. Father, no. Harris. Shut up, all of you. The king closes his eyes. His lips are trembling, like a man trying not to cry. Please. What? A moment. Give me a moment to prepare. Everyone's eyes are on him in disbelief. Gone is every trace of his former haughty demeanor. In its place is a frightened, broken man cowering in the shadow of death. Disappointment flits across Harris's face to be replaced with withering disdain. Hurry up, cut your throat on the knife. What are you waiting for? The cavalry. The king spoke so softly I found myself wondering if I had actually heard those words. What? It's over, Harris. The floor is suddenly shining. The radiant lines of familiar sigils spread like a spiderweb under our feet. What in the— Kill them! Kill yourselves! But the guards, far from moving to obey, are milling about uncertainly. Hagen lowers the dagger he held to the king's neck, blinking and looking about dazedly. Your Majesty, what am I— Forgive me. I forgive you. You know not what you did, as opposed to Harris here. What's going on? Obey me. But no one does. Dragon's breath negates all magic within its circumference, even that of a deviant. The councils of the snake. I sigh with relief. This is undoubtedly Neri's work. But where is he? Not to mention, how did he become strong enough to cast the dragon's breath over the whole of the throne room? No, never mind. The throne room, the glowing circle is covering the entire palace, if not beyond, eliminating Harris's hold over anyone who happens to be within. I congratulate you, Harris. You came closer to killing me than anyone else had. No, no! Guards, arrest the traitor. Harris turns aside to flee. But before he can take 3 steps, I spring into action. My hand slides into my pocket and I pull out my hidden paralyzer dart. With a steady grip, I take aim and shoot. Ah! As the dart hits its target, blue electrical currents roll out. Harris wobbles on his feet, unable to take another step. With this, he won't be able to use his magic even after Neri's spell fades. I sigh with relief, the tension finally leaving my body. A paralyzer? Good thinking, as expected. A dozen soldiers of the garrison, armed to the teeth, burst in the room and take Harris down. Neri follows behind, wan but steady. My dear Nerifiel, good of you to join us. Thank you for your help, your majesty. What are you saying? You rescued all of us. I could not have done it without your majesty lending magic support to me. So that was why the king had looked so faint. He hadn't been crippled by fear. Neri had been draining magic from him to supercharge the dragon's breath. And it was on your majesty's instruction that I secretly fell behind and hid myself away when our party entered the palace. I would never have taken precautions against treachery in the heart of Eskia as you did. Come, you are being much too modest. The king's words are gracious, but his expression is wholly smug. Now, my friends. As Neri's magic finally fades, the king turns to face Harris, who is being brought towards us by a troop of garrison guards. How long have you been plotting against us, traitor? These soldiers, these guards, the assassins, the mercenaries under your sway, they couldn't have been accomplished in a matter of days. No, they took me decades. Since the day you entered the service of my son. Before. Such patience, such cunning, such determination. Harris, it is a shame you have made me your sworn enemy. I could make good use of one such as yourself. I would never serve a tyrant like you. As you like. Nothing will save you anyhow. The king nods at the garrison captain, who snaps to attention. To the dungeon with him. Yes, your majesty. Wait a moment, captain. The garrison captain, who is about to carry out the king's orders, hesitates. His position in the garrison from the council makes him my colleague, not the king's servant. His mandate, technically, is cooperation with the authorities of Eskia, not obedience to them. For form's sake, if nothing else, the captain is obliged to first hear what I have to say. Your Majesty, Harris is apprehended by members of the garrison who serve the council, not you. I cannot imagine that the council's attitude towards this criminal differs from mine. It might depend on what attitude your Majesty holds towards Harris. He will be put on trial and hanged for his crimes. I sneak a glance at Harris. He might as well not have heard the king's pronouncement. With Raphael dead and his plot in ruins, his life no doubt seems worthless to him. Yet, the attitude of the council towards Harris differs from yours, your Majesty. Is that the case? The king regards me with newfound wariness. The garrison captain gapes. Even Neri is looking at me uncertainly. The council has an interest in interviewing Harris. From where does this extraordinary interest stem? He is the only witness from Liebeck tragedy still alive, your Majesty. The tragedy where an entire Rosencreuz estate was razed and over a dozen Rosencreuz has gone missing. We Rosencreuz would welcome closure to such a painful chapter of our clan's history. He's not the only living witness, I think. The only one we officially know about. I see your point. The king strokes his chin thoughtfully. He lowers his voice to beneath a whisper so that none but I may hear. And what if I give the order to slaughter this only living witness of yours on the spot? Then, your Majesty, I shall be compelled to draw the council's attention to another possible survivor from Liebeck. I answer just as quietly. A survivor who, fully conscious, killed defenseless women and children on the terrible night he broke free of his kidnappers. A survivor who, breaching the council's strictest regulations, directly participated in the politics of a nation for personal gain. The king considers me under hooded eyelids. One day, we may regret not killing him here and now. As I so nearly had a cause, just now, to regret not having him killed 30 years ago. Your Majesty, in the presence of the High Council, no one may cite they may be dangerous later as a reason to kill someone. That is why your meddling council is so unpopular everywhere. You disregard the practical necessities of politics. May I remind your Majesty that my meddling council saved your Majesty's life tonight? The king barks out a mirthless laugh. Very good, your persuasiveness has won me over. Valkii, I discharge this criminal to the custody of the High Council. Keep him at your peril. Thank you, your Majesty. Not bothering to wait for me to finish, the king is already sweeping out of the throne room with his retinue? Neri pauses as he walks past me. Valkii, are you sure you know what you're doing? No, Neri, I don't. Neri eyes me for another moment before sighing. Then he hurries after the king. The guards, who have been freed from the mind-controlling magic, swiftly release the hostages. I see the garrison barking orders at the soldiers and servants. Everyone wants to get the palace back in order. Harris, who is being shackled and chained by garrison captain, tilts his head at me. Why? Why did you defy the king to save my life? Not for you. If you think you can talk me into being the minion of the High Council... Harris, were you controlling Raphael when he fought us? Of course not. He looks appalled by the thought. That's what I thought. You wouldn't enslave the mind of Raphael. Then why did he attack us? Harris, I believe he wanted to take on the burden of your feud for you. He must have hoped that if he did so, he would lessen the feelings of vengeance that was consuming your life. And Raphael appeared in front of me as the deviant to free you of any suspicion. Torn between his loyalty to his friends and his feelings for you, Raphael chose the latter. I suppose that makes him a traitor too, but... Harris does not reply. Honor his sacrifice, Harris. Enough, let's go. The garrison captain shoves forward Harris roughly. He stumbles, nearly falling down because of the shackles around his ankles. Before he is dragged away by the garrison, his eyes catch mine for an instant. His head dips briefly, almost imperceptibly in a nod. Sighing in relief, I turn around. Seren is still next to me. He steps up and gently takes my hand, his face a picture of calm. Then he pulls me into an embrace. You were reckless for provoking him, Valkii. A hand lightly caresses my hair, all the same. His hold onto me is firm. Puffing a burst of laughter, I ignore the shocked gaze of the surrounding guards. Snaking my arms around his neck, I look up and press a kiss onto his cheek. I knew you would be at my side protecting me if I needed it. Smiling, he closes his eyes and presses his forehead against mine. Feeling unrivaled joy, I allow us both a moment of peace. Finally, this adventure is over. Stretching my arms above my head, I wince at the soreness from being bent over for too long. Sighing in relief, I sweep my gaze around the room, checking for any belongings I may have accidentally missed and forgotten to pack away. Excuse me? But Seren, you're not leaving. The fuck no. And as I do so, I am hit by an unexpected sense of wistfulness. I'm finally leaving. After staying in the palace, occupying this room for over a year, I finally finished my duties here. I'll be setting off for other responsibilities after Seren's coronation ceremony tomorrow. I should be excited about what other adventures await me beyond the walls of this palace, but... Seren's face comes to mind. The thought is quickly accompanied by the memory of our intertwined hands and his warmth against my back, of his firm embrace and of his skin against my lips. Heat rises to my cheeks before I brush it away. I sigh, glancing at the sky beyond my windows. I wonder how improper it would be to pay Seren a visit at this time of night. Likely very improper. Yet I can't shake the temptation to show up at the door of his bedchamber with a knock and a smile. We've barely gotten time to talk the past 2 weeks, given how busy he has been with preparations for the coronation. While I understand the importance of these affairs, I would hate to leave without bidding him farewell. I don't even know when I will be back. Right as I decide to throw caution to the wind, a knock sounds in my room. A knock from the window. I blink in confusion. Then I turn my head towards the window. Seren! Why is the Crown Prince visiting my room by coming through my window instead of the door? Struck by both speechlessness and an indescribable joy at seeing him, I leap to my feet and open the window. Oh, he's so cute. Oh, he's so cute. I couldn't quite make out the look on his face in the darkness before, but once he climbs through, Seren's sheepish expression becomes clear as day. He coughs softly, dipping into a gentlemanly bow, and my amusement grows at the stark contrast between his actions in the past minute. Hello, Valkii. Your Highness, is there perchance an issue with my bedroom door that I was not aware of? Or have you developed an aversion to it for some unknown reason? Seren lets out a chuckle, the corner of his eyes crinkling with laughter. No, I am pleased to inform you that it is nothing of the sort. I told my father that I would like to see you tonight, but he advised me to be discreet about it. This was the best solution I could come up with. You... wait, what? He tilts his head at me with an endearing look of bewilderment. At the sight, my surprise is replaced by playfulness and a mischievous urge to tease him. You do realize how it sounded when you told the king that you'd like to visit me at this time of night, yes? Your father likely completely misunderstood the reason you wished to see me. His brows knit together slightly, his confusion apparent. Let's just put it this way. I'm sure His Majesty would be very surprised to see you returning to your room tonight. More so than he would have been if you had been seen walking up to my door blatantly. Oh, I can tell the moment the realization dawns on Seren because his cheeks immediately adopt a fiery shade of red. Look at him blushing. Oh, this is all I've asked for. I still don't think there was enough romance, but yeah. It takes everything in me to keep a straight face and continue in a serious tone. I wasn't aware that our relationship had reached that stage already, Seren. I'm quite surprised. To my satisfaction, Seren begins stuttering, tripping over his own words in a haste to explain himself. That was not I would never dream of... Oh, so you wouldn't be interested in staying the night? I must admit, my ego is slightly bruised by that admission. No, I mean, yes, of course that would be desirable, but... He cuts his own rambling off with a loud exhale, pressing a hand to his forehead. What am I even saying? No longer able to hold it in, I throw my head back in laughter, enjoying the look on his face. Finally realizing that I've been teasing him all along, he sighs again, but the upturn of his mouth lets me know that he's far from being annoyed. When I've had my fill of amusement at his expense, I take a step closer towards Seren. Looking at him directly in the eye, a soft smile plays on my lips. I would love it if you would stay the night with me. The redness that has just begun to fade from his cheeks makes a return. At the same time, something almost predatory glints in his eyes. He replies in the softest, gentlest voice I've heard, and the warmth in my chest spread throughout my body. If you are comfortable with it, I would love nothing more than to stay. We continue smiling at each other like fools for a minute before I finally remember to invite him to take a seat. He surprises me by moving towards my bed instead, settling down on the top of the covers with his legs crossed. With a chuckle, I follow and make myself comfortable next to him. I do apologize for visiting so late. Don't worry, I've already finished packing. In fact, I'm really happy you're here. Truth be told, I was just about to go look for you, so you spared me the effort. Seren seems to take delight in my admission. You were? Yes. I've missed spending time with you these 2 weeks, and since I'm departing tomorrow. He goes quiet for a moment, and when he speaks again, his voice has a hint of anxiety. My apologies, I wish I had more time to talk with you, but with the upcoming coronation, there's no need to apologize. I understand, Seren. Duty comes first. There's a hint of melancholy in Seren's eyes when he nods. Yes, I know it does, for you as well. Hence, I cannot ask you to remain here in the palace with me as much as I want to, and you know I wish to stay, but I can't. I'm bound by my duty to the High Council, and I must answer to it. I'm gonna stop the video. I don't know how long there's left, but I'm gonna stop the video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.